At exactly 3:17 p.m., the heartbeat of Nexora Systems flatlined. Monitors blinked to black. Keyboards froze mid-command. The room that had buzzed with confidence just moments ago now simmered in confusion and dread. Preston Wells stood still, eyes fixed on the lifeless dashboards lining the glass-walled conference room. As CEO, he'd overseen countless product launches, but none this critical. In 3 hours, a $40 million pitch would decide the future of the company. Now, nothing was responding. Across the room, Daniel Ruiz, head of cybersecurity, darted between terminals, typing furiously. "This isn't a system glitch," he said tightly. "It looks intentional." "You're saying someone did this?" Preston asked, not blinking. "I'm saying it didn't happen by accident." The engineers around them exchanged looks. Panic, still unspoken, was crawling up their spines. Every failover system had failed. Their backups didn't back up. Their walls, digital and otherwise, weren't just breached. They'd been bypassed at a war room turned into a tomb of blinking cursors. Meanwhile, for floors down, in a forgotten break room behind the janitor's closet, Leona Brooks leaned over a beat-up laptop. Her fingers hovered over a string of test code she'd been working on for weeks. Something in the pattern flickered against her memory. She tilted her head. That wasn't random. It was recursive, and someone wanted it to break. She sat back, quietly, sipping her apple juice, unaware that the building above her was unraveling, unaware that the knowledge sitting in her second-hand notebook would, within the hour, rewrite the fate of the entire company. The smell of lemon wax and overheated circuits did not bother Leona Brooks. She was curled into a vinyl chair in the break room near the service elevators, oversized hoodie sleeves bunched around her wrists, eyes fixed on her tablet screen. A video tutorial played through one earbud. To override root access, isolate the server object, then restructure the permissions manually. Leona paused the video and rewound 5 seconds. Something about that line tugged at her. Her notebook. A thick spiral-bound mess of flowcharts, hand-sketched architecture, and colored sticky notes rested open beside her juice carton. She picked it up and flipped pages rapidly. Line after line of old code she had played with over the past few months. Upstairs, chaos had teeth now. Voices rose. Phones rang without answers. Across the war room, engineers slammed keys with increasing frustration. Tasha Lang, VP of Systems Infrastructure, was stone-faced, fingers blurring across her laptop. Preston Wells hovered beside her, the overhead lights casting a sheen across his furrowed brow. "We are dead in the water," he muttered. Daniel Ruiz pointed to the latest scan results. "This override came from inside our network. Our external firewalls are untouched." "You are saying someone inside the building triggered it?" "I am saying the breach tunneled straight through our internal grid like it had a blueprint." Tasha's hands stilled. "If this is sabotage," Preston cut her off. "No one leaves this floor until we figure it out." Just then, Marcus Brooks, janitor and longtime night shift worker, knocked gently on the glass door. His voice was low, uncertain. "Sorry to interrupt, sir, but my daughter says she might know what is wrong." Preston blinked. "What?" "My daughter, Leona. She is downstairs in the lounge. School let out early. I brought her with me, kept her out of the way. She says it sounds like a permissions overwrite with some kind of pathing error." Someone chuckled from the far side of the room. Another voice whispered, "Seriously?" "She is what, 12? Someone asked. Preston raised a hand. "That's enough." He turned back to Marcus. "Did she actually say that phrase?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, word for word." Then she said something else. Something about a recursive call issue. Tasha stood up, so quickly her chair scraped the floor. "Wait, she said that?" "Exactly that." Tasha looked back at her screen, then up at Daniel. "Recursive call loops can crash a system if they stack without exit conditions. It is not a beginner-level concept. Most interns have never even heard of that," Daniel said quietly. "She is 12? Someone whispered again, not mocking this time. More like awe. Preston stepped aside. "Bring her up." 10 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Leona stepped out, notebook hugged tightly to her chest, her sneakers squeaking softly on the tile. Her father walked beside her, unsure if he was escorting her into a boardroom or a battlefield. All eyes turned. Silence rippled through the room. "Is it all right if I sit?" she asked, her voice calm but cautious. Preston gestured to the side terminal. Go ahead. Tasha crouched next to her. Can I ask where you learned about recursive calls? Leona opened her notebook. I was building a platformer game. My sprite froze every time I hit jump, so I started reading message boards. They said I was probably calling the function too many times in a loop without a kill switch. She spoke plainly, like it made sense. Tasha stared, then stood slowly. That would be a recursive call. Leona plugged her tablet into a USB port and tapped a few lines into the terminal. Code unfurled like ribbons across the screen. Her finger landed on a single log entry, line 2023. It is calling itself over and over without ending. That is, what crashes it? Daniel leaned in and let out a low whistle. She is right. Leona flipped to a page in her notebook. I drew this yesterday. It shows what happens if you don't cap the recursion. If you let it keep going, it folds. The system in on itself. Preston blinked slowly. Tasha turned to him. We have run out of options. She is not guessing. She is solving. No one argued. Not because they fully understood what was happening, but because, somehow, Leona did. And for the first time that day, the room did not feel doomed. It felt like something was shifting. A thick silence gripped the room as Leona leaned toward the terminal. She tapped the spacebar once, then pointed. You see this? The function keeps calling itself. It has no escape route. That is why it overloaded. Daniel Ruiz hovered nearby, fingers poised over the keyboard. So we just cap it? No, Leona said. That is not enough. You have to kill the orphan threads and reset the permissions. Otherwise, when you reboot, the system might try to rerun them. Preston Wells motioned her forward. Show us. The room cleared a path for her. A path she never asked for, never expected, and she walked it like it was hers all along. Leona sat, adjusted the chair up with effort, and whispered over to Daniel. Type this. He did, slowly at first, then faster, line by line. She guided him through the workaround. This part here, she said, circling a section of code. It is hardwired to restart on crash. We need to tell it not to. Lines of text flowed across the screen. Logs blinked back to life. A green notification flashed in the top corner. Node connection reestablished. Tasha Lang let out a breath she had been holding for half an hour. Dashboards flickered. Backend systems rebooted. The network logs updated in real time. It was working. She just brought us back online, Daniel said quietly. Preston stepped back, staring at the monitors in disbelief. Can someone confirm that we are stable? Systems are returning to baseline, said Alexei Chun, lead engineer. Server temps are down. No error loops in the backup queues. Leona looked up. The Stack Overflow was not random. It was built that way, on purpose. The room buzzed. Eyebrows rose. People exchanged glances. Jason Mendez, the senior platform architect, folded his arms tightly. His jaw clenched. That is a big claim, he muttered. Intentional sabotage. Leona did not flinch. The recursive loop was buried under misleading variable names. It was trying to hide. Tasha turned to Preston. I believe her. Preston nodded slowly, then looked at Marcus Brooks, standing near the corner, still stunned silent. Your daughter just saved us a disaster. What is her name again? Leona. Leona Brooks. Leona, Preston said, I want to offer you something. A paid mentorship. After school, weekends, whenever your schedule allows. Jason scoffed. We are really doing this now. Why not? Tasha snapped. She found the needle in a digital haystack. None of us did. Preston added, you will get supervised access to a secure terminal. Everything you work on will be under your name. And protected. Daniel smiled. We could use someone who sees things the way she does. Leona blinked. I can really do that. Tasha grinned. You already are. The room cracked, just slightly, into cautious applause. Alexei walked over and extended his hand. Welcome to the team. She shook it, eyes wide, but steady. From the corner, Jason stared without moving. He was not clapping. Then something changed. Another alert. Red. Loud. A terminal chirped twice, then screamed with a system override error. Everyone froze. What is that? Preston asked, voice sharp. Daniel sprinted back to the console. No. This is new. This is not the recursive loop. This is different. Tasha was already on her feet. Status. Daniel's face paled. It is a secondary attack. Same access point, different vector. Someone planted a follow-up. Alexi's eyes widened. A contingency breach. Yes, Daniel said. This one was timed. Like a failsafe. It activated when the primary exploit was patched. Leona stepped closer, eyes scanning the console. That is deliberate. This was not sloppy coding. This was designed to collapse after the fix. Tasha swore under her breath. Someone tried to bury the evidence. Twice. Jason took a step forward. This is getting out of control. We cannot just take the word of a child, and Daniel cut him off. She is not guessing. The log timestamps match. The trigger was nested. Someone engineered this. Preston pointed at the monitors. Can we contain it? We are trying, Alexi muttered. But this one is more aggressive. It is rerouting credentials and ghosting admin trails. Leona looked over Daniel's shoulder. You can isolate the runtime shell if you block its port sequence. Here, like this. She drew a short sequence in her notebook, handed it to Daniel. He typed it in. The system hesitated. Then the screen blinked once. The override halted. Tasha shook her head. She just shut down the second breach. A longer silence fell, and then, slowly, reluctantly, Jason stepped back. But his eyes narrowed. Not in confusion, in fear, because whoever had planted that second breach, they were inside the company. And now, everyone knew. Leona stood over the terminal again, still gripping her notebook. This string keeps looping, she said quietly, pointing at a specific user key at the bottom of the log file. It is in every breach event. Same identifier. Ends in 009B. Daniel Ruiz narrowed his eyes. That is not a system-generated credential. That looks typed. Tasha Lang leaned in closer. Where have we seen that before? Leona flipped to a page in her notebook, then tapped a code sketch. This one matched an old testing machine that was supposed to be deactivated weeks ago. Daniel quickly pulled up the hardware registry. It was Terminal 52A in the west corner. It was tagged for recycling and pulled off the floor. Preston Wells looked toward the glass wall behind them. Then how is someone logging in from it? They are not, Leona said. Not physically. They reactivated the machine through internal access. Used it as a shell to run the breach scripts from behind the firewall. Tasha's voice dropped. So this was not someone who hacked in. No, Leona replied. They were already inside. A silence fell like a curtain. Daniel's hands hovered over the keyboard. I am going to cross-reference every backend access with privilege clearance over the past 72 hours. Preston nodded. Do it. Quietly. No alerts. No notifications. Tasha added, we do not need panic. Not yet. Names scrolled down the screen in waves. Dozens at first, then fewer, and fewer still. As Daniel applied filters, the list shrank to 6. Leona stepped closer, reading fast. Her finger paused on one entry. There. That user key matches the breach pattern. Daniel clicked once. A name filled the top of the screen in clean, bold text. Jason Mendez. The room dropped into a vacuum. Not a sound. Not even a breath. Tasha was the first to speak. Jason? No, that cannot be right. Alexi Chun, who had just walked in, froze. He is one of our senior architects. He was also the loudest voice in the room questioning Leona, Daniel added. He tried to dismiss her findings every step of the way. Marcus Brooks, still near the doorway, blinked. I saw him earlier. He left. Maybe 20 minutes ago. Said he was going out for coffee. He is not coming back, Preston said. The team exchanged uneasy glances. A rising tension crept through the floor. The kind that does not explode but eats away from within. He routed admin permissions through a disabled terminal, Daniel said. That is classic obfuscation. And he knew exactly where to bury it. We would not have found this if Leona had not flagged the string. Leona's voice was low. The code wanted to fail. It was built to collapse. It was just waiting for the right trigger. Tasha turned to her slowly. You were right. From the beginning. Preston nodded. You just saved a $40 million future and exposed the person who nearly killed it. Leona did not smile. She did not flinch. She just stood there, steady, like the ground itself, because she had seen this before. The doubt, the sabotage, the silence that follows when truth cuts deeper than anyone expects. Daniel leaned back in his chair. We need to build a full chain of evidence. Every file, every log, every path. No leaks, Preston said. When we bring this forward, it needs to be more than a smoking gun. It needs to be the whole fire. From somewhere in the building, the faint buzz of conversation continued. unaware that everything had shifted. Jason Mendez was now a ghost in the system, and the hunt had begun. By Friday morning, the office moved quieter than usual. Not the kind of quiet that brings peace, but the kind that holds tension in its teeth. Conversations dropped as people passed the break room. Eyes lingered longer than they should. Leona sat beside Tasha Lang in the server suite, cross-legged in a chair far too big, her hoodie sleeves swallowing her hands. She was sipping from a paper cup of apple juice and watching lines of code crawl across the screen like constellations. She was not supposed to be there. And yet, it felt like she had always been. Still no ID badge? Alexei asked from across the table. Feels wrong not seeing her name on the system logs, Daniel added. We will get her set up today, Tasha said. Leona looked up. Does it have to have my picture? Tasha tilted her head. Why? I do not like how I look in pictures. You will look like the person who saved our entire infrastructure, Tasha replied. That is all anyone is going to see. Upstairs, the real storm was starting to break. In the glass boardroom, Preston Wells stood in front of a table lined with executives, legal counsel, and investor liaisons. Behind him, a large screen displayed data logs, file access trails, and one damning slide. Jason Mendez. Internal sabotage confirmed. Preston kept his voice level. This was not a glitch. It was not incompetence. It was intentional sabotage. A few gasps escaped. One board member leaned forward. Are you absolutely certain? Yes, Preston answered. He rerouted admin privileges through a dormant terminal. He concealed it in a recursive loop, and we would not have caught it without her. He pointed to another slide. A name, Leona Brooks. A soft rustle ran through the room. The janitor's daughter, someone whispered. She is the one who traced the signature, patched the back door, and rebuilt our firewall. Murmurs grew, but no one questioned the data. No one questioned the outcome. She is 12? Another executive asked. Preston nodded. 12. No formal training. No credentials. Just talent and curiosity. She should not have been here, and thank God she was. Back in the lower level, Leona ran side-by-side scans with Daniel. They did not treat her like a mascot. They listened when she spoke. They asked what she thought. Still, some people looked sideways in the hallway. Some whispered when she passed. Tasha noticed. So did Marcus. That afternoon, as Marcus walked across the floor pushing a cart of supplies, something had changed. People nodded when he passed. Some even smiled. That was new. He paused near the glass conference room, watching his daughter reflected in the surface beside the CEO. That was new too. In the IT suite, Preston entered, carrying a document folder. He knelt beside Leona's chair. I want to offer you something, he said gently. A long-term mentorship. Paid. After school. Weekends. With full supervision and your name on everything you build. Leona blinked. Like a real employee? Better, Preston said. Like the one who raised our bar. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Tasha placed a hand on her shoulder. You belong more than most people in this building. Leona looked down, then up. Okay. And just like that, the room moved again. This time not with tension, but with something steadier. Asterisk respect. Because what started as a glitch was now a reckoning. And what had once been invisible was now undeniable. By Monday morning, the story had already broken wide. Tech blogs led with it. Local news anchors were practicing how to pronounce her name. And on LinkedIn, a dozen corporate influencers were resharing the same headline. Janitor's daughter saves $40 million tech deal after spotting sabotage missed by entire engineering team. Asterisk in the photo beneath the headline. Leona Brooks sat cross-legged in a plastic office chair, sleeves past her hands, laptop open. She did not smile in the picture. She was working. And that, somehow, made the story even better. Preston's phone would not stop buzzing. Scholarship offers. Press requests. Ivy League outreach coordinators. Someone from a morning talk show wanted to fly her out by Thursday. But down in the break room, Leona sat on a bench with a juice box, tuning it all out. I do not want to be famous, she said quietly. Tasha Lang sat beside her, scrolling through Slack. You do not have to be. But the world wants to know who you are. Leona shrugged. I just want to fix things. You already did, Tasha said. And not just the system. By lunchtime, 3 different crews were circling the lobby. Vantage's comms team tried to hold them off, but the pressure was building. Preston finally pulled Leona aside. If you want to talk, he said gently, we will support you. If not, we will shield you. She paused. Will it help someone else like me? Maybe, he said. Maybe it will show someone else they do not need permission to be brilliant. That evening, with one camera and one reporter, Leona gave her only interview. How did you know what to do? I like puzzles, she said softly. And I watch a lot of people mess things up. What was it like, working with professionals? They listened to me. That made it easier. What do you want to be when you grow up? She looked into the lens. Same thing I am now, just with a desk that is mine. Her father, Marcus, stood just out of frame, arms folded, eyes wet. He had scrubbed those hallways for 5 years. And now his daughter's name was on whiteboards and walls. The next morning, the backlash arrived. Just like Tasha said it would, anonymous accounts. Comment sections full of suspicion. This is fake. PR stunt. No kid could do that. Leona read some of them, then stopped. Tasha sat her down. You cannot make everyone believe in you, she said. Just make sure you still do. That stuck. Marcus changed today's shifts. Not because of the promotion Preston gave him, though that came too, but because he wanted to be the one to drop her off. To see her walk through the glass doors like she belonged, and slowly, more people began to believe it too. Not everyone. Some still whispered. Some still looked past her. In the elevator, a group of junior developers fell quiet when she stepped in. One of them looked away. Another offered a weak smile, then turned back to his phone. She noticed. Why do they look at me like that? She asked later. Tasha hesitated. Because they do not know what to make of you yet. Do they think I do not belong? Tasha crouched down beside her chair. Leona, you belong more than most of them. You just made it harder for some people to pretend you don't. Leona nodded. Not with certainty, but with something stronger. Understanding. Weeks passed. The hype cooled. The headlines moved on. But inside the walls of Nexora Systems, something had shifted. Leona still sat beside Tasha some evenings, sketching diagrams in her old paper notebook. Even though she now had full access to internal systems, one page stayed taped together near the middle, the one that saved the company. Near the back, she added something new, a rough sketch of a door, cracked open just enough to see through it. Above the drawing, she wrote 2 words in bold, keep asking. Because that was what the world tried to silence. Not brilliance. Not ideas. But questions. Curiosity. Permission to look deeper. She was not waiting for that anymore. And maybe, just maybe, if someone else was sitting quietly in a break room somewhere, notebook in hand, wondering if they were allowed to try, they would remember her. Because brilliance does not always wear a badge. Sometimes it waits in silence. Sometimes it hides in a hoodie 3 sizes too big. Sometimes it fixes everything before anyone knows what broke.